Are your students constantly arguing, starting drama, or even spreading rumors? In this video, I'm going to share 7 ways to effectively have a restorative circle as a school counselor and effectively repair harm. If you've never facilitated a restorative circle, they are amazing. They take a lot of work on the front end to get them ready, but once you get enough practice doing them and prepare for them, they are amazing tools to teach our students empathy and conflict resolution skills. This is how you want to structure your restorative conversations to get the best results using the 4 F's: facts, feelings, fix, and future. Before you meet with students and have the conference, prepare your agenda and gather questions and icebreakers beforehand. You can do a simple Google search online and you can find some amazing restorative questions to help you in this process. It's important to gather as much background information as you can, so you can have your students fill out a reflection sheet where they document what happened. Basically, they're answering simple questions like the who, what, when, where, and how. This saves a lot of time because it helps you structure your conversations when you get all the students together at the same time. Next, you'll want to set up a conference space where you can have the meeting. Be sure to arrange your furniture or your chairs in an actual circle to get the best effect. This way, students can actually see each other and it builds a circle of community. Once you've got your conference area prepared, then you can invite all of your students to come in. Be sure they understand the guidelines of how this process will work and they understand what the outcome should be. You also want to make sure that they agree to participate in this process so everything goes by more smoothly. Have a talking piece to guide your conversation so students know who can talk and at what time. Your talking piece can be anything in the room, but it also can symbolize something that helps with the restorative conversation. Like, for example, you can have an eraser that symbolizes a clean slate, or a stress ball that symbolizes decreasing the stress and tension. Make sure that students know the only person who can talk is the one who has the talking piece, and that includes you as the speaker or facilitator. Begin the conference by setting a positive tone and emphasizing the structure of how it's going to flow. You can set norms or guidelines. If you like, you can use these. Keep it simple and have between 3 and 4 norms. Respect the talking piece. Listen for understanding. Speak your truth. What's said in here stays in here. And be sure that all participants know the purpose of this conference is to repair harm, not to assign blame or consequences. That's not your role as a school counselor. Now that you explained your guidelines, start with a value round. A value round is a question that creates a sense of reflection and builds dialogue. For example, what is one thing that you need in order to be able to speak openly, honestly, and without judgment? I also encourage all students and the facilitator to be mindful of your facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. Now it's time to share the facts. Have your students go around the room and tell what happened from their point of view. Remember to use the talking piece. Pass it to that student and let them share what happened from their point of view. Again, you want to encourage the other students not to interrupt because they don't have the talking piece and only listen even if they don't agree with what the other person is saying. This part can get the most heated, so again, you want to practice having your students watch their tone of voice, their facial expressions, and their body language. That's why it's important for you to have all that information beforehand and have them fill out the reflection sheet to steer the conversation in the right way, but still allowing that student to voice their side of the story. So go around the room and do one round. Let each student share their side of the story. It doesn't matter what order you go in, as long as every student gets a chance to speak. After you've allowed every student to share their point of view, now it's time to talk about the feeling. This is where you ask the open-ended question, how have you felt after this incident? Allow each participant to share their perspective on the harm that was done and how it has affected them. Make sure that everyone has the ability to be seen, heard, and valued. This is why it's important to have your questions ready beforehand. So again, go on Google, find some restorative questions to have, and be sure to follow that agenda. Another question that you can ask throughout the conference is, what has been the hardest part for you to manage or deal with throughout this process? Or simply, what has been the hardest part for you? Once all perspectives have been heard and all participants have shared, develop a plan with them on how they can repair the harm. It could include apologies, but be sure not to force students to apologize. They need to be genuine. If students aren't ready to apologize in the moment, give them some time to reflect and think about it and then maybe come back later on. Also, be sure your students know that they don't have to accept an apology right away. They may need time to reflect on it and then come back later too. Be sure that every student is an active participant in creating the plan for moving forward. Other resolutions could look like stay-away agreements or having a go-to person, an adult, or another friend who can be a mediator. If you have time, you can also teach them I statements and effective communication skills. And just as a side note, because there may be some situations where a consequence is needed, you as the school counselor is not the one who gives out those consequences. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can invite your admin to come and sit in on the restorative circle as an active listener, not a participator. The only time that the admin should be able to participate is when they're talking about consequences moving forward. Or you can simply tell your students that the admin or school leader will follow up with them if there are any consequences that will be issued out because of these events. But it's important for them to know that. I try to avoid even involving admin by having students fill out a respect agreement at the end of the conversation. And then if they violate the terms of this agreement, that's when admin will be involved. And I say this only to respect the integrity of the restorative circle. If the conference has gone well thus far, you don't want anything to mess up the flow of it at the end of this by talking about consequences. So that's why I just try to avoid all of that by just having them do a respect agreement and then filling in admin later on. And then after the conference, you want to follow up individually with each participant and see if they are upholding the agreement. You can follow up with these students individually and ask their opinion on how things are going, or you can ask for teacher input too. But you definitely want to evaluate the process, especially if this is your first restorative conference. The big things are be prepared, make sure you have your questions readily available, and make sure that you have guidelines and go over that with your students so that they know the outcome. After it's all over and done, evaluate yourself. Determine how confident you felt facilitating this conversation. I promise it gets easier as time goes on and the more of these that you do. Eventually, you may not even need the worksheets or the conversations because you'll have everything memorized and the flow of it. This is only going to improve your skill set and help you be more confident in the future. Practice makes perfect. But again, you got to make sure you're doing it right for your practice to be perfect. If you got value from this video, I would love it if you bought me a coffee. It helps my creative juices flow. You can buy it at the link below. And if you still need some help on resolving conflict with students, check out these two videos on the screen. One is the girl drama video where I talk about how to resolve issues and conflict with girls respectively. And the other is a video where I talk about the steps process that I learned from Second Step to help resolve conflict effectively. Check out these two videos and let me know what you think in the comment section.